All right, we did multiplying, dividing radicals, and we did rationalizing the denominator. Now we're going to do adding and subtracting radical expressions. The big difference between multiplying and dividing to adding and subtracting is you have to have the same radicals. You have to have common radicals in order to add and subtract. Remember, for multiplying, you just multiply everything together under the radicals. You don't have to worry about the same radical. But it's kind of like, think about adding and subtracting fractions. Like if you want to add, let's say 1/2 plus 1/3, right? You can't do that unless you have a common denominator. That is not 1/5. I hope you don't think that. 1/2 plus 1/3 is not 1/5 because you have to get a common denominator. Well, adding radicals is similar where you have to have the common radical. So in example 1a, we're good. We have radical 2x, we're good. We can just subtract the coefficients. So 11 minus 7, see how it's 11? This is 11 minus 7. So what we're going to do is write it like this, 11 minus 7, and then keep the radical 2x. Okay, so it's kind of like factoring, all right? And then 11 minus 7 is 4. So it's 4 radical 2x. So that's kind of how we're going to do these. You got to have the same radical in order to add or subtract. Now here we don't have the same radical. So what we need to do is we need to simplify one or both radicals. In this case, radical 2 can't be simplified, so we can't do anything here. This is just going to stay 7 radical 2. But radical 8 can be simplified. We know that that's 4 times 2. We did this in our last lesson. All right, and then 4 is 2 times 2. So we know that radical 8 we could take out a 2, multiply by the 3 that's already there. So 3 times 2 is 6. This is going to be, and I'm just carrying this down. So it's 7 radical 2 plus 3 times 2. 3 times 2. So 6 radical 2. That's the leftover 2. So 7 radical 2 plus 6 radical 2 gives me 13 radical 2. 13 radical 2. You just add the 7 and the 6, just like we did here. All right, 54 breaks down. You can break it down however you want. 9 times 6. And then 9 is 3 times 3. And then 24 breaks down 4 times 6. And then 4 is 2 times 2. So I have a pair of 2's here, a pair of 3's here. So I have 3 radical 6 plus, and then 3 times 2, 6 radical 6. The 3 was already there, and the 2 we took out. 3 times 2 is 6, leaving the 6 left over. And then we're going to add them. 3 radical 6 plus 6 radical 6 is 9 radical 6. Here, this is x. All right, and then 2 of the x's pair up. The other one's left over. Let me do that better. X, and then pair with 1 left over. This one, you get 3 times 3, and then you have x, and then you got the pair of x's. So what do we have here? We have a 9. We're going to take out an x. So that's going to be 9x, and then we're going to have an x left over, and then minus. Now here, I'm taking out a 3, and I'm taking out an x. 3x, and then an x left over. So see how we simplified both of them and got both of them down to a radical x. So now I can subtract and combine these terms because I have a radical x in both terms. 9x minus 3x is 6x, and then radical x. Okay? Now, this is more what you're probably going to need to be able to do is combine more than 2. So I have 3 of them, so we're just going to get the same radical for all of them if possible. So 50 is going to be 25 times 2, 5 times 5, and then 18 is 9 times 2, and then 3 times 3, and then 8 is 4 times 2, 2 times 2. All right, so what does this mean here? Well, I take out a 5, I have a 2 left over, so that's 5 radical 2. I take out a 3, 2 left over, minus 3 radical 2. I take out a 2, 2 left over, plus 2 radical 2. So I have 5 minus 3, so I'm going to put this all in parentheses. 5 minus 3 plus 2, 5 minus 3 plus 2. Those are all my outside numbers. And then, of course, it's just going to be radical 2, because you just keep the radical. 5 minus 3 plus 2 is 4. So 4 radical 2 will be my final answer there. Example 2 asks us to do perimeter of a triangle. You could draw the triangle out if you want to, but you should know that perimeter is just adding up the sides of the triangle. So here are the side lengths. So basically you just need to add these, right? 4 radical 3 plus radical 12 plus radical 75. So same thing, right? This one's already simplified. I can't do anything there. This one's 4 times 3 and then 2 times 2. This one's 25 times 3 and then 5 times 5. All right, so that's going to be, I'm just going to bring it over here. We're going to have 4 radical 3. This one's going to be 2 radical 3. And this one's going to be 5 radical 3. Add them all up, I get 11 radical 3. And that is the perimeter of the triangle in simplest radical form. And then example 3 wants us to find the area and perimeter. All right, so I'm just going to draw a line down here. Let's do perimeter first, just because we already kind of got the hang of it. We just did perimeter, and then I'll review area with you, because I know maybe we haven't done area in a while, but you should know how to find the area of a triangle from earlier courses. So perimeter, we're going to add them all up. So I'm just going to add these two right now because they're the same radical. 8 and 8 is 16. This is going to be 16 radical 3. And then we have to add radical 384. Now, if I can't get that down to a radical 3, I'm not going to be able to add it in. So let's see what we can do. 384 is, I know it's going to be 192 times 2. Okay, and 192 is 91 times 2. No, it's not. It's 96 times 2. 96 times 2, and then 96 is 48 times 2. And then 48 I know is 16 times 3, and then 16 is 4 times 4. All right, so I broke that down. I'm just going to kind of do this. There's my breakdown there. Now, what do I have here? I have a 4 times 4, and I have a 2 times 2. And then I have a leftover 2 and 3 that don't pair up. So I'm going to take out a 2, and I'm going to take out a 4. I'm taking out a 2 times 4, I'm taking out an 8. And I'm leaving in a 6. So it's going to be 8 radical 6, because I have a 2 and a 3 left over. 2 times 3 is 6. And I have a 16 radical 3. And because I don't have the same radical, I can't go any further. So my answer is going to be 16 radical 3 plus 8 radical 6. That's it. I can't do anything else. 16 radical 3 plus 8 radical 6. That is going to be my perimeter in simplest radical form. You cannot do anything. The 6 cannot go down to a 3 because 6 is 3 times 2 and nothing pairs up. So I'm done. Now for area, you should remember area is base times height divided by 2. All right, so area is going to be the base and the height are 8 radical 3. So 8 radical 3 times 8 radical 3, and then divide by 2. Now 8 times 8 is 64, and then radical 9 over 2. And then 64 over 2 is 32. Radical 9. 64 over 2 is 32. 32 times radical 9. Now radical 9 we know is just 3. So this is 32 times 3. And then 32 times 3 is 60. No, it's not. It's 96. 96. So my area of this triangle would be 96. There is no radical because the radical came out to a perfect square number. All right, I will see you in class to work on adding and subtracting and perimeter and area and whatever else that you want us to do here for with these radicals. See you then.